Hello, N4H&H here with you. This is going to be another video in the Yaesu FT-710 AESS series. That's the acoustic enhanced speaker system. You may recall in a previous video I explained that the AESS is going to be an enhancement to the receive audio, because the radio is going to come with an external speaker facing forward. You can clip it on either side of the radio. It's also going to have an internal speaker, and you can do some adjustments to decide the balance between the two speakers, and also something in the music world we call a crossover. But in other words, you can decide what frequency range comes out of the internal speaker and what frequency range comes out of the front speaker. So it's been described as a bit of a 3D effect, because the sound's coming from the different frequencies of sound are coming from two different directions. So that's the FT-710 AESS. So because of that, it's going to come with an external speaker. You do not have to purchase that separately like we normally do. So now, FT-710, most everybody has presumed, and I think rightfully so, that it's going to be a head-to-head competitor with the ICOM IC7300, which has been the most popular, I think, entry-level base station for the years that it's been out. What, 6 or 7 years at least? You know, it's intuitive, color screen, color waterfall, just, you know, a real quick radio to learn your way around. And so Yaesu didn't have anything in that range as far as like a pure SDR. So when they came out with the FT-101D, they ventured into mixing a super heterodyne receiver with a software-defined radio stage, an SDR, and that they termed as a hybrid. And that radio now, the FT-101D, and its 200-watt version, the MP, they're the top of the list. They're the top of the heap in the category of dynamic range. Now, that's a test that's been traditionally performed by Mr. Rob Sherwood, and he has a website you can go to, and you can look at the numbers there. And I'm going to shrink myself down here and show you that I have Mr. Sherwood's table up on the screen here. And so, you know, so he runs this test. Now, you know, many will argue, well, I don't buy a radio based just on that one number. And you know, you should absolutely consider your operating style. If you're going to come home from work and rag chew on 75 meters with your friends, you don't need a radio in the top 10. You know, you really don't. Anything above a 90 in this column over here is called dynamic range, is good. But, you know, if you get into, you know, above 100, you can start picking a radio really based upon looks, brand loyalty, knob placement, you know, what have you. Because they're all really going to be very close to one another in performance when you get into that realm. But now if you're buying a radio for bragging rights, then yeah, I guess you'd want to go to the top and get the FT-101D. But what I want to start out with here is to take a look at the ICOM 7300, because that is arguably the radio that Yaesu is going to compete with using the FT-710. So the 7300 is currently positioned at position 23 on this list. Now you're looking at it here in the top left, and these are the numbers that go across. It is a 97 decibel dynamic range. Now you'll see another number here. There's footnotes that explain those, and it usually has to do with whether the preamp's on or off, things like that. So it's sitting at position number 23, and it used to be at 22. So hint, hint, something has nudged its way in above it. So we'll go up this list. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll just maybe mention a couple of honorable mentions on the way up. There's the 7610, the ICOM 7300's big brother. It's a dual receive version. And there's Apache Labs. That's going to be a software-defined radio. Flex Radio's got some here. Here's a 99 decibel on the 6600M. The Maestro, that's going to come with a display. You know, Flex Radio, you have the radio and then you use your computer to control it. But the M stands for Maestro. It comes with a display for those who don't want to, you know, hook up a computer to the radio to control it. So it's sitting at 99 here on the dynamic range. Again, above a 90 is good. So a couple of flexes here. Here's a K3 from Elecraft. You'll see a couple of more K3s as we go up. There's the FT-5000D. As you know, watching my channel, I have the MP version that I bought in 2019, but this test was performed in 2010. And the 5000D is a 2009 design. And, again, I picked based upon ergonomics. I like the knobs and buttons, the big radio, not having to access menus for everything. So you got to take all that into account when you're choosing a radio, not just where the radio is positioned on this list. Again, anything above 100 is really, really good. So let's work our way up. The Elecraft K4D, that's their newest radio. I had the pleasure of interviewing Eric Schwartz, the owner of Elecraft, at the Huntsville Hamfest, and he said the K4 HD is coming out soon in the next few months or so. And if you own a K4D, apparently you're going to be able to buy a module you plug in and it converts it to an HD. And the HD should push it higher up in this dynamic range list over here. That's the whole purpose of that upgrade. So then you have another Apache Labs, Elecraft KX3. That's that little portable radio that can produce up to 15 watts. Has a tremendous receiver in it. Now look at this, the Hyberling. That's a German radio. I don't believe you can buy them anymore, but I remember checking the price on one. Beautiful radio, 17 grand when I looked. And it's a 105 over here on the dynamic range. Kenwood's 890S, they're the TS 890S, also a 105. Now when they're tied here, Mr. Sherwood will take into account other numbers over here and then factor in those kinds of tests as well, those results, and then determine which one should edge the other one out. So here we are at another KX3. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed this one. ICOM IC7851, I should mention. That's the flagship from ICOM, also a 105. Also a 105. And obviously from some other tests, it merited being positioned at the top of the heap for the three that came in at 105, okay? You'll notice here it says A-Track Pre-Select. So give you a quick little rundown on that. Coming in off the antenna, you're going to go whatever band you selected, let's say 40 meters. So you're going to have a band pass filter which says, okay, I only want to pass 40 meters to the rest of the radio. And you got one of those for each band. And then after that, you can have these optional filters called pre-selectors. And A-Track is a pre-selector. It's going to track the VFO and narrow down even more so, say 7 to 7.3 megahertz coming in through the bandpass filter. The pre-selectors can narrow down even tighter than that. Now, different pre-selectors can be better than others, but at least what you're doing is you're taking another opportunity to narrow how much frequency spectrum you want to pass down to the rest of the receiver. So, that's giving probably a little bit of an edge to this radio. The Hyberling has one as well. So then some of these you'll see just a bandpass filter. All right, so the 7851, by the way, $14,000. I think I've seen them on sale for 12 grand. If you can, I don't even think you can buy them new anymore. Here's another K3, the ICOM R8600, which is a receiver, not a transceiver. And look at this, Yaesu FT-710. That'll be the FT-710 AESS. And it is positioned 4th down in the list. See, there's the king of the hill up there, the Yaesu FT-DX101D. By the way, the 200-watt version, the MP, would be the same numbers. There's, the MP model is going to come with a 300 hertz filter in receiver A for CW, where the D model will come with a 600. And the D model has a pre-selector for VFO A, where the MP is going to have a pre-selector for VFO B as well. Now, their pre-selectors you can actually move their position separate from the VFO, and then it'll track the VFO. So is a good enhancement to a receiver. Not all receivers will have that. See, the FT-DX10 does not have the pre-selector. It does have a half octave in addition to a band pass, and that's an enhancement. The FT-710 only has bandpass filters, and that's very common when you're talking about an SDR, okay? But look at this, a 107 for the 710 and the FT-DX10, but now the FT-DX10 edges by it a little bit from maybe some other numbers over here. I'm noticing that the sensitivity, the B and B1 here, FT-710 B1, that means with AMP2 enabled, is a 0.13 microvolts. You want that lower. So 0.13 is better than 0.15. And so the FT-DX10 is a 0.15 with AMP2 on. But look at this. With AMP1 on, the FT-710 is a 0.23 versus a 0.21 for the FTDX10. Okay, you know what? That's a wash. Those numbers are too close. You won't hear it or see it yourself in normal operating. A lab test, maybe, not normal operating. Another one, though, that is interesting is the 100 kilohertz blocking. And I'm going to show you in a few minutes where you can go to a document that Mr. Sherwood wrote, and you'll be able to understand all these numbers in these categories, what they mean. But the blocking at 100 kilohertz is 129 for the FT-710, 141 for the FTDX10, and then 147 for the FTDX101. And that's the 101D or MP. So now I want to talk about what's in position 2 here. A Flex 6700 has a 108 versus the 107 for the FTDX10, the FT-710. But there's a footnote here, a Y. Let's go down and read the footnotes and see what that's about. And if you want to go to this, let me just tell you the page. If you want to go to this page here, it's Sher, SHER, and then WENG.com/table. That's a /TABLE. So it stands for Sherwood Engineering. SHERWENG.com/TABLE. So now Y says, Y, I want you to know. Y says DR3. That's that dynamic range we've been looking at over there on the right. You know, the 99s, 101s, 105s, 107s. The 108 dB test was with 20 dB preamp on. It was 99 dB with the preamp off. Otherwise, dynamic range is independent of signal spacing. Because remember, he's testing based upon you're trying to pull a weak signal out with a interfering station 2 kilohertz away that's strong. And so, you know, that's why I was hoping he would do the test, because, you know, he's got his parameters that he uses, and this is great that we now have these results. So it says tests in 2017 of a second 6700 and by the ARRL of a 6500 no longer measure the dynamic range increase with the preamp on. The 108 dB value is no longer valid. 2 kilohertz dynamic range is 99 dB, same as 6600M. And then he's got a little note here, which is, if you watch my channel very long, you know this. As with any radio, only use a preamp if it improves copy, and usually only on 15 meters and up. So, you know, you've heard me say before, even on 17 meters, I will usually use IPO unless I'm trying to pull a weak signal out of the weeds, okay? So remember the rule of thumb. If that S meter's sitting on 3 or 4 of noise, then you've got too much gain. You can turn off preamps if you've got a radio that doesn't have IPO. If you've got a radio with IPO, go to that first. And then if you need to, attenuation, RF gain. But that's covered in other videos. That is a side note that Mr. Sherwood put in there. But what I want you to get from that is the actual production models of the Flex radios are 99 dB. There's one that is 100. It's in the list. But I believe it's the 6400. But yeah, none of them above 100. So that really means that the FTDX10 should be considered as number 2 and the FT-710 as number 3. So there you have it, the FT-710. I'm pleasantly surprised because the independent lab test that I saw, if you interpolated the numbers, plug it into this list, yeah, it should have been around position 12 plus or minus is the way I'd put it. So this has exceeded my expectations. You know, Yaesu's had some opportunity to perfect the execution of the software-defined radio stage. So obviously, this is really, really good news. For those of you getting into amateur radio now and you're looking for your first HF base station, I believe this FT-710 is going to be a game changer. For one thing, you're going to have a DVI-D port on the back, so you can plug a DVI-D monitor directly into the radio. You don't have to have some sort of an interface third-party box like you would, say, with the ICOM 7300. So that's good. And you're going to get an external speaker in the price of the radio. If you add an external speaker to some of the other radios, it's going to be priced higher. You're going to spend more than you would on a 710. And let's think about it. The 710 at right now, $1299.95. That is, you know, well, coming with a speaker that's worth about $170. That's just a heck of a deal, and it's beating these radios that are, you know, $17,000, $14,000. There's some that are 7,000, and here you're looking at a radio for $1299.95 that's arguably number 3. I mean, well, it is number 3 when you take into account the footnotes. So that's pretty incredible. I want to draw your attention to the fact that I had mentioned earlier, you know, in the month of September, the FT-DX10 was on sale for only $100 more than the FT-710. Granted, you did not get an external speaker, so, you know, that was another $170 on top of that you'd need to spend. And Yaesu, where the advertising said these sales end on September 30th. So let's take a look at that. I pulled up 3 of the main companies we buy radios from. Here's HRO, $1499.95. So it's up $100 from what it was on September 30th. And I've noticed here what it is Yaesu's $100 coupon is gone, but we have a $200 discount from HRO fall savings until the end of October 31st here. And by the way, I checked DX Engineering, and they're matching $1499.95, free shipping usually from these, from all of these. And also Gigaparts, same thing, free shipping, $1499.95. So they're all holding that $200 savings in there, but the Yaesu savings is gone. So that's going to mean that the FT-DX10, if these sales prices drop off, could potentially go back to $1699.95. I personally think it's probably going to settle at around $1599.95. Just what I think. I think it's ultimately going to wind up there. I hope I'm right. I hope it doesn't go back to $1699.95. Although I got to admit, for $1699.95, number 2 radio in that list. You know, if you're looking for a radio that can separate the weak signals from the interference of a strong signal nearby. I want to talk about accessories too. Because I've had some of you contact me lately about microphones. I've had several questions about microphones lately. And, you know, here's an M100, $439.95. You know, I just got to tell you, you don't need, look at this M90D. Now, that one's not so bad, $175. They've got one that I don't see it here, but it's up around $500-600. This M70, I've had several viewers that use my video number 4 in the FT-DX10 playlist to set up their hand mic audio. Plugged in the M70, sound like $1,000,000. Now, what's cool is on the bottom of the M70, there is a switch, high cut or not, and you can put the high cut on, rag chew. You ready to break a DX pile up, turn off the high cut, and you get a little bit more penetrating audio. It's a wonderful system, and you can just use the same EQ settings that I show in video number 4 of the FT-DX10 playlist. Now, why do I tell you that? Because this channel is all about helping you get the most out of whatever you have, and I want you to save money. You do not need to spend $300 or $400 or $500 on a microphone when a $144.95, that's what that price is right now, $144.95 for the M70 desk mic, and that will do the trick. Because the Yaesu radios have 2 sets of parametric equalizers built in. Each of them have 3 bands, so you pick a frequency, pick how much above and below that frequency you want to affect, and then you can boost or cut. It's just phenomenal. So you have everything you need inside the radio. You do not need a fancy microphone. So I just want to throw that out there, save you a little bit of money. My channel is, again, all about operating techniques, the gear, helping you get the most from whatever you have. I don't work for Yaesu or ICOM or Kenwood or anybody else. I am backed by a Patreon support team that make it possible for me to bring you the good, the bad, and the ugly without any influence from a manufacturer. So I want to just give you the straight scoop there. So back over to Sherwood's list, I wanted to show you what I talked about earlier. How do you understand what all these numbers mean? So right up here at the top of the page, follow down, you'll see the words receiver test data, and right below that says terms explained. And you got a choice to pick DOC or PDF. I chose the PDF, and let me pull it up and show you what it looks like. It's simply some pages with text. But it goes through and explains each of those categories that he tests and gives you some insight into what all that means, okay? So that'll give you some insight into all these other columns of numbers here. So hopefully that will help you out there. Now, I want to let you know this video here is part of an FT-710 series, and I am expecting to get an FT-710 soon and start, continue this series, I should say, and do something similar to what I did with the FT-DX10. So it'll start with an unboxing We'll get it set up, and like I did with the FT-710 video number 4, I went straight. I got you on the air, hooked up. A few little tweaks here on the receiver, and then in video number 4 of the FT-710 series, I got into transmit audio. I wanted you to get on the air and sound good and enjoy the radio. And then the rest of the series, we go deeper and deeper and deeper and learn more about utilizing some of the features in the radio. Especially fighting noise and pulling out weak signals and all sorts of things, decoding CW. I mean, there's over 80 videos in the FT-710 playlist here on the channel. So I intend to do the same thing with the FT-710 AESS. So I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you'll be notified each time I upload a video, generally 2 a week. Now, I'm going to level with you. I have enough videos already preloaded out into December. So what I'm going to do is reposition some of the videos so I can sprinkle in these FT-710 videos as I get them produced. It will probably be, in a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks maybe. I'm hoping to get a radio in maybe in the next 2 weeks. So I'll start doing that series. So just subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and you'll know when those videos are uploaded. And hey, do me a favor, please click that like button, that thumbs up. That helps the channel out with YouTube. And like I said, subscribe to the channel. And let me just mention, these videos are brought to you by some supporters that help keep this channel coming to you as part of what's called a Patreon support team. And to justify my time doing this is very time consuming to shoot these videos and then produce, edit, and get them out published, and then just to maintain the channel. And also too, I spend a lot of time, and I don't mind doing it, but answering questions. And especially the Patreon support team, they get priority on answering questions. In fact, the executives and the VIPs have access to some setup documents. I'll be producing one for the FT-710. Right now, there's one for the FT-DX10, the FT-DX5000MP, the FT-891, and the FT-991A. It's what I call a menu optimizations document, and it covers receive, transmit audio, all sorts of things. And so I intend to produce one of those for the FT-710. So the executives in the VIP level Patreon support team members have access to that. There's 3 levels of support. Then the VIPs also have access to me via, we can do FaceTime, we can do Discord, Zoom, phone call, some personalized support there. So if you want to join that team, go to www.patreon.com/N4HNH. That's patreon.com/N4HNH. It'll help offset the cost of maintaining the channel. I can keep these types of videos coming to you, and I can keep from having a sponsor breathing down my neck telling me what I can and can't tell you, because they wouldn't want me to tell you the negative stuff, and I will tell you the negative stuff if when and if I find it. And I guarantee you, there is no perfect radio out there, so there's always something you can nitpick. I've got some nitpick videos in the FT-DX10 series, as a matter of fact. So if you would consider helping out by joining that Patreon support team. And finally, if you would, share this video link on social media, text message, email, phone a friend. Hey, thanks for watching, and 73 from N4HNH.